Hi everyone, welcome to the 22nd episode of Happy Hour with CarnaticON. This is Archana, the founder, and today I have here with me Ramana Balachandran. Hi Ramana, how are you doing?
Hello, how are you? I'm doing fine.
Good, good. So, are you excited to talk about your journey with our audience today?
Of course, it's my pleasure. And I just hope to be of some meaning. So,
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so let's get started. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what instrument do you play, who are your gurus?
sure. So, I'm 19 years old and I started learning Mridangam at the age of 4 as my parents noticed me drumming on tins and whatnot at home. And they thought that this kid could have a penchant for the instrument, so they took me to a Mridangam guru. And I pursued it for a few years, but I had a hiatus, so I couldn't really continue with that. But then got back, and it was kind of intermittent. And then and Veena was almost an accident, I should say. So my mother plays the Veena, and my father is a vocalist. So in one sense, music was always at home, though not very regular, because my father sang and my mother played the veena. I was exposed to the music. I used to listen to music, and at the age of 9, I my mom was playing the veena, and she made a mistake in what she did, and I seem to have pointed that out, and she asked me to play it. And all I remember is she was playing Sadhinchane, a very famous kriti, magnum opus kriti of Saint Tyagaraja. And because I've listened to it so many times, it was one of my favorite kritis, and I knew how things were. And I knew that she was doing something wrong, and I just pointed that out. And she asked me to play it, and I remember picking up the instrument and quickly relating to it. And so that's how I started with Veena. And after that, she took me to her guru, Sri Nagalakshmi, in Bangalore, under whom I learned Veena for a period of 3 years. And then since then, I've been learning under my father. And yeah, I mean, I cannot feel more fortunate and lucky to have picked up Carnatic music and to enjoy and appreciate it and on a daily basis. So I'm really happy that I'm into this journey. It's just Providence choice, and yeah.
That's awesome. So, are you a full-time musician now?
Well, it's heading towards that, I should say, but I am pursuing my academics. I was done with my A-level exams, Cambridge University exams a year ago, and I'm currently pursuing a degree, an online degree. So, but that said, music is the priority. So I spend a lot of time in music every day, and I want to have it that way for at least now, and just waiting to see where it takes me.
That's wonderful. So I did read somewhere in one of your interviews that you were homeschooled. So I would
Yeah,
love to hear that experience, about your the
sure.
homeschooling experience is something that is not, too common, right? So how did you kind of why did you choose homeschooling, and was that
Yeah, well,
because
it
you
is
wanted to pursue
becoming
music?
common these days, I should say. Well, it was basically because of the dissonance with the education system that my father particularly had when I was going to school, and there are misconceptions about me being homeschooled, which are basically people used to ask if I was incompetent at school, which was not the case. I was doing decently well in school, and yeah, so it was the dissonance that triggered that decision of me being deschooled when I was in
Mhm.
sixth grade. So I've been homeschooled since I was in sixth grade, and I'm glad that I was. So it gave me a lot of time to pursue what I really like to pursue at any point of time at my own pace and at a much deeper level, I should definitely say. So, for instance, math is something that I used to detest when I was in school, and after being homeschooled, me and my father especially worked on math and some foundational concepts like algebra for an extended and sustained period of time. And within about 1.5 years, um, I think I was in seventh grade. I used to really enjoy, going on Khan Academy. I'm sure you know of Khan Academy, and I owe all the good things that have happened in my academic journey to Sal. So so Sal Khan has been my guru and whatever, however you want to call it. And so Khan Academy was one extensive resource that I used. I mean, a resource that I used extensively. So many of these online resources, plus some guidance from my father, helped me really study what I wanted at a much deeper level and at my pace. And I keep saying deeper level and at my pace because that's the two things that really meant a lot. So I used to do logarithms in seventh grade, which was unimaginable for a school kid at that point of time. Of course, if someone was really interested in math, it's not a surprise. But for me, at least, I couldn't imagine myself, spending time in logarithms alone. So
I
that
know.
was something
Who
really
likes logarithms? Yeah. Yeah, I know, I know. So,
so,
so basically, your journey, that means your digital transformation happened even before the pandemic took over, right? Like
yeah,
right now, all the
absolutely.
kids have adapted to the new normal, but
Yeah,
you were probably one of the
I'm
early
very used to
adopters
it.
of Khan
Yeah.
Academy, so you're very used to it. Nice, nice.
That
Okay, so
if it was not for homeschooling, I wouldn't have been able to pursue music at a very serious level. So there were a few years when I hardly studied. I was just practicing, and I learned a lot at that period. And I consider those years to be very intense even now. So that is all because of homeschooling. So
that's wonderful. So, did that give you more bandwidth to pursue music?
definitely, yeah, yeah.
That's good. That's really good. I think the way this is being perceived is also changing quite a bit.
Hmm.
We know a lot of people in the US that are being homeschooled right now, so that they can focus on things like sports and all of that, right? So I think that is definitely changing. So that's good.
And the
So
good part is that when you choose to do something at any point of time, you tend to do it much better than someone else, asking you to do that. So, uh,
yeah, I'm sure the kids would love it, not having somebody at the breathing down their neck to give their exams. So that's pretty cool. So okay, so talk a little bit about your musical journey. So have you like how many concerts have you done? What are some of your accomplishments in this space?
yeah. So I stopped counting after a point, and maybe I should start now. But I think I would have done about 400 concerts by now, and I've been performing since I was 12, and now I'm 19. Um, I mean, uh, it's just a huge amount of learning. So I should just say that. And I happened to play a lot of concerts when I was young. So a lot of learning in music for me was through concerts. So it was through the concerts and through the preparation behind each concert. So of course, every artist's at least one of my dreams is to go to a concert and perform without any preparation, which just get things right with a high hit rate. It's a dream that I'm slowly working on. But yeah, so there's been concerts, there's been a lot of collaboration with Hindustani musicians, and there's I mean when you teach music, that is another a huge learning that really is essential, I feel, because when you explain something to someone else who does not understand it, you tend to use methods that you would otherwise not have would have considered, and that really strengthens your understanding. And all that, I think, has really added to my learning. And the US tour, which happened in 2018, where me and my dear friend Sumesh Narayanan, we traveled about 25 cities, and it was back-to-back concerts, and we had an amazing time. And I also aim to do not repeat any piece in my concert, so that was a really nice thing for my musical learning, and I really cherish those few months. So yeah.
So how would you say this whole virtual concerts and so much has changed in the last year, right? So how have you adapted to the new normal?
Yeah, so I had a few virtual concerts, but the thing is, because I live in Tiruvannamalai, I all of those, most of those were solos. So I used to perform at home, record that, and that was the concert. And then I did start doing virtual concerts along with a mridangist. So I used to record my part and send it to the mridangist, on top of which he would record, and then a video editor would merge both. And it's a lot of work, but there were a few concerts like that, and honestly, I didn't like those because you never get the feeling of co-creating music with anyone, and the audience also contribute to your musicality in subtle ways. It might be in the form of just the energy that they give you on stage, and it's the live co-creation of music is impossible in this virtual medium unless you both meet and then jam and then you publish that, which was not possible for me because I lived in Tiruvannamalai. I couldn't travel to Chennai or Bangalore. So in that sense, I didn't enjoy that because I mean, and even from the mridangist perspective, he had to play on something he couldn't. There's a lot of anticipation that comes through in a live concert, and it's about you subtly giving signals to him and him subtly giving signals to you, and then his playing would drive me in a certain direction and my playing would drive him in a certain direction, and both come together and that forms one piece of music, and all that was impossible for me, at least. So that is something that I missed, but now things are coming back to normal, so it's exciting in that way.
Yeah, I
And there were
totally
a
understand.
few,
I think,
yeah. So there were a few projects that I worked on too. So there was a few songs that I released online, and one of them was interesting. It's called Sammukha Priya. It's a piece in the raga Shanmukha Priya, but there's about I think 45 layers of myself. So there are many me's in the same video, and then there like a harmony, vocal harmony on the side, and then a veena harmony on the side, and there's some rhythms, there's claps, and it was very interesting. So it's basically a split screen video, which took almost about 150 hours of collective work and effort, and that was something that was really exciting, and that was triggered by the COVID situation, which
okay. So, as an artist, how would you compare, performing for a live show versus a music video?
Right. So for a music video, it's generally one particular song that you put all your energies in, and it's very one-pointed in one sense. And then the things that you can do in a music video are completely different from the things that you could do in a live concert. For instance, in the music video, you could do the vocals, you could do the instruments, and layer yourself and all that. And the type of practice is not very much of something that leads to being spontaneous, unless you're doing a completely explorative piece for which you generally don't have a separate video that you can mix. So it depends. But for a live concert, there's a lot of work that you put into to enhance enhance your spontaneity on stage, and there's a lot of nuts and bolts that you work on, which eventually help you to get to something much more complex that you would perform on stage. It might be in the form of practicing different types of alaps, different types of complex swarams at home, and working on different types of kritis that you would like to present in a concert and all that. So, and then you kind of prepare a list of kritis that you want to present in a concert and work on those and all that. So, yeah.
Nice. Okay. So, I mean, I'm a lot older to you, right? So when I was growing up, some of the opportunities we had were, say, TV, concerts, competitions, reality shows. So right now there's so much social media, and there's so many other avenues online where you can engage your audiences, right? So how would you say, the platforms to showcase talent has evolved over the years? And is that something artists can leverage?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to it. I mean, I'll try to answer something a bit related to this. I think that will eventually answer the question. But the thing is, the availability of media like YouTube and even simple things like a recorder, which you can carry anywhere and which allows you to share online at any given point of time. For instance, if you take the example of a musician that lived in the 1960s or 70s or even the 80s. They didn't have, or they couldn't afford the device or the medium to actually note down even a good idea in music. All they could do is write it down. And now we tend to be very much gratified instantly, the instant gratification problem. So you make something good, you want to immediately share it to people, you want to share it to your friends, and there is something unconscious happening. You unconsciously sometimes crave acknowledgement. That's a problem, I would say, about social media, which I have myself fallen into many times. And I think that definitely kind of sometimes gets you to shallow waters in a bad way, where you don't really get the opportunity to access a lot of depth, because anything that you want to share at any point of time, and any good idea that you have, is immediately available to others and for them to critique. And in one way it's really good, because you can, there's so many good things. For instance, I can immediately send an idea that I have today to a co-musician and have it assessed, and get inputs from him and maybe improve the composition, which was impossible in those times. Which are the good sides? And if I want to learn something new, if I want to learn a new composition, it's so much easier. There's literally thousands of compositions uploaded online, and people now, every musical piece that musicians share today are definitely going to help the next generation to look up to. So they have something that they can look up to, which is really nice. And just the fact that you're able to see hundreds of musicians share their knowledge online is amazing, which I think is a boon to this generation. So yeah, I hope
Absolutely, right? So,
that answers the question.
yeah, I mean, I think in some sense it has kind of democratized the whole,
Yeah.
whole opportunity space, right? So, and I mean, to be fair, I think you do have a medium to directly engage with your audience. So you're keeping your ears to the ground, right? Look, if somebody is giving you feedback, it's something that you can kind of take it, in your stride and say, okay, this is something I need to work on. So I think those kind of things has definitely evolved from, say, my generation, right?
Yeah. Sometimes the ease, or the rapidity with which you get access to knowledge sometimes can be taken for granted, and we may tend to become complacent. So that's something we have to be really careful about. So it's almost like this. So if I listen to a good musician sing something that I like, it's always I the intensity with which I listen to it at that moment is significantly lower compared to what I would have had if I didn't have any device to capture that. So it's almost recording like, so it's there in the recording, I can access it later. So it's more of that laziness that kicks in sometimes, that I've noticed. So I thought it was related to what we were discussing about the social media helping helping people leverage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, I mean, I think for the longest time, this has always been like the Guru Sishya Parampara, where your teacher, keeps, the knowledge that you get out of that relationship is totally up to you, right? And there's no way to record it and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And now that's definitely changing, but it's changing for the good, because there is a way for us to pass down this art form to younger generations, and this is the only way to do it, right? So, okay, cool. So, so in terms of your travel and everything, right? So you have perspective, you have exposure to so many different genres. How would you rate something so niche like Carnatic music with world music? Do you think we as a community need to be doing more things proactively to take it to to a wider audience, or do you think we're already doing it? What's your take on that?
Um, yeah, I do sometimes feel that Carnatic music deserves more. Because as you practice more and spend time more with your music, you feel that, oh, there's such deep stuff here, and I wish the more people knew about it. So that's something that I've definitely felt. But to be honest, I've not really thought about how to actually do that, because my focus has completely been on just deepen your music, see where it takes you, perform when you get the opportunity to, and then when you do perform, you do your duty to, it's to represent what you have at its best. And just that of being very sincere to what you owe, to what you learn, that itself will definitely get Carnatic music. I mean, I don't think it's it feels awkward to kind of think of us patronizing Carnatic music. Uh, I don't know how to say it. So
Yeah,
maybe it's
I mean,
uh,
yeah, I don't look at it like that, so I would say, like, as a generation that has taken up this art form seriously, how would you say we can pass it on to the younger generations, right? Like, what are some of the things we can do? Like, for example, there are many maestros who have sung at the United Nations, right? So things like that gives Carnatic music a sort of like a global recognition. What are some of those things we can do to pass this on?
yeah, I think that I mean, I completely agree with that. But the thing is, to take Carnatic music more globally, uh, I'm not sure about how a collaboration, let's say, with a Carnatic musician and any other genre, is going to how strong that's going to represent Carnatic music, because um, there's nothing like showcasing a solo or a pure Carnatic form, uh, compared to a collaboration, because I mean it's not in its truest form. There are some I wouldn't say compromises, but tweaks that you do to make things gel well. That's what I'm saying. So if you have to perform with a Western musician, you definitely are not going to play the same way that you're going to play a Carnatic solo. So you're going to change a few things, and that is going to slightly alter its identity. They listen to Carnatic music from a young age, and I mean it's another matter that they might relate to it, they might not relate to it. It's not in our hands, but make them listen and see if they like it. That's
Yeah.
one thing that I keep telling people who say that their kids are not interested in music or whatever. But it's just, I mean, anything can make it look interesting. So, and I'm my own example because I hated math and I love math just because I started to understand things. So it's as simple as that. So maybe it's in the small things like making children listen to music, taking them to performances, explaining to them how different genres work. Maybe it's all that. Other than big things like making opportunities in a global venue like UN and all that. So
Right, right. I mean, hopefully, right, with this pandemic, one good takeaway is more and more artists are open to putting some of their work on, platforms that are easily accessible to the younger demographics, right? So I think in some sense, this is good because now it's easy access to the work that has always been preserved. Now children at least have the exposure to an art form like this, which wasn't the case before the pandemic in a lot of ways. So yes, I think I think hopefully we are getting there. It is going to take a lot of time, but I think
just
we're all
one
working.
Yeah, when I talked about Carnatic music being represented in its truest form to make global impact, I also feel that things like fusion and things like collabs between completely different genres and Carnatic music, all that makes some headway in one sense, because it definitely gets in a new audience and they at least are fascinated. Oh, there's something new here, and they might be driven into some exploration, and then they might research more, and that might bring in new audience, which is amazing. So I mean there are people who ask me about if I feel bad or good about fusion, but I this is what I feel. So
No, that's good. Yeah, that's good. I think we're all on the same page on that, because it sparks
making Carnatic,
curiosity.
yeah, exactly, making Carnatic music seem very cool, to this generation. So uh,
Yeah,
for
cool
instance,
is a buzzword.
yeah. My friend Sumesh, he plays in this band called Indo Soul, where they do when they take Carnatic music, one of the things that they do is they take a very Carnatic composition and then they add their layers to it with guitars, drums, and all that. And I do feel that's really nice in one way. So for the reasons that we just
So
discussed.
is that something that you are already doing? Have you been collaborating with like world musicians?
Well, I did have the opportunity to, but unfortunately, my academic schedule didn't allow me to do a lot of it. But yeah, now I'm completely much freer now, so I'm open to all that. So I more than that,
Awesome.
I listen to Western. I listen to a lot of genres and try to assimilate what I can and incorporate those into my music. So that always happens. So
That's true. That is so important, right? The problem of relevance and relativity that
yeah,
needs to be bridged. The moment you know that something like Carnatic music can fit into your lifestyle, I think then it becomes more easy for people to understand and appreciate this art form versus it being completely disconnected and you have to be a completely different persona to learn Carnatic music, right? So that just doesn't work. So yeah, so I think we all agree on that. Cool. So we would ideally love for you to play the veena at this point, but I know you said you've had some issues with
yeah.
Zoom not picking up the right frequency. So we will let you go with that. But is there anything else, any projects that you want to talk about? We're happy to share that with the audience, and we'll also include some of the links to your work. So if you want to talk about anything, any upcoming concerts or any projects that you want to talk about.
Well, there are a few upcoming concerts and projects that I'm working on, and there has been an upgrade in the equipment that I've been using, which is going to open up certain things, and I want to keep that a surprise. So, so yeah,
Okay. Okay, cool. So, one last question. So, you said you live in Tiruvannamalai, right? So, we would love for our audience to hear more about that. How was that experience? I've been there once and I know it's super surreal. So, it'll be good if you can, touch upon your lifestyle, right? Like, how do you find motivation in your environment and nature to pursue something like, music?
yeah, yeah. So the sole anchor for us being here is Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's presence, and that is something we all feel uh, dearly relate to, and we just feel very lucky and fortunate to even set foot here. And other than the fact that we always wanted to move into a smaller town with a slower life, along with that, you basically a zero here, and nobody cares about your fame and all that. So all that is really inspiring, and you see people pursuing. I mean, we know some environmentalists who have been working for 30 years, afforesting the hill, and but nobody knows about them, and they don't really go after taking credit. All that really is very inspiring. You meet so many types of people. You meet sadhus, you meet such beautiful souls who are so free of themselves and so free souls, environmentalists. So it's a varied company that I really enjoy here. And I also have an isolated practice place that I use, and all that is really keeps helps me keep myself grounded, and I really cherish that. Other than the
That's
fact that
beautiful.
go on walks on the hill and really enjoy the nature around.
That's gorgeous. I think we would love to have an experience like that. Hopefully sometime we'll all get to experience what you
Yeah.
just shared with us, right? So awesome. So thank you so much for your time today, Ramana. It was wonderful chatting with you, and it was amazing getting to know you. And for all of you watching this today, do check out some of Ramana's work at www.carnaticon.com. You can scan the QR code to find more information about him. So thank you for watching and good luck, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye, Ramana. Thanks.
See you then.
Bye.